Hi and welcome back to Mueller Projects, back for another tool review. So today I'm going to be looking at the Hilti plunge saw, then show it in action, and then at the end of it talk about some improvements or things that I don't really like about it. This is on the Nuron platform and I've been using it with one of their 170 amp hour batteries. So when looking at some other brands, so this probably does come in as one of the lighter ones. I think it's about 3.3 kilos as a skin, so that makes it very lightweight. Like a lot of the other plunge saws, adjustment front and back to adjust your angle of cut. So this doesn't have a lock at 45, it sort of goes all the way to 47. This also does go back to -1 degree. So you sort of have to sort of go back to there and just sort of leave it there, then tighten it up. Another really cool thing is that they do have adjustment for running on the track, speed dial adjustment here. One thing that they have thought about is some other ones don't come with a little cover over the wee door to change the blade. So Hilti have actually incorporated that into their design. And then they also do have this wee drop down edge, which some other brands do have as well, to allow when it's cutting on both sides to have that well and truly covered. 2 trigger control, so you have to push this up and then you pull the trigger. When you're changing the blade, you lift this lever up, and that actually keeps the saw down, but also as the blade lock at the same time. You release that and it drops back. Nice depth of adjustment here, so you just push this wee little tab and it allows you to slide it up and down, and they do have for with the track and without the track. So just talking about some of the negatives. So one of the first things that I sort of noticed when I was using it, so when you go over to your 45-degree angle, or close to, one thing that Hilti hasn't incorporated in their design is a lot of other brands have a anti-tip feature. As with this saw here, there's nothing stopping it falling off the track. When you're over on those 45-degree angles, it's purely relying on you keeping the saw firmly on the track, so it doesn't have a wee guide to stop it rolling over. So that would be a negative for me, as quite often you are using these on a 45 and you don't, it's nice to be able to have that saw that it's not going to keep rolling over. Second thing for me is that there's no like zeroing out. A lot of other ones, it's very secure when it goes to 0, and then to go negative degrees or -1, you have to press a button to be able to make the plate go that way. So that's sort of a bit of a negative for me. Third would be the Allen key to remove the blade and change it over. It's not much actually holding it in. This dust port hasn't got sort of indents, it just rolls around. Sometimes it is nice for other ones that you can click it that way, so it's going to run off the side of the track, as they have a tendency to just sort of move around. On the Hilti website, they do actually have a guide that I think it screws into these 2 screws here, so it sits on top and on the front and back, so it allows you to use this almost like a skill saw with a guide on it. But when you look at the accessories page for the saw, you can't seem to see it. Another thing they also do have that other brands have is just a dust bag that you can have on the back, so you don't have to always use the vacuum. That again, when you go on their website, you can't actually see that item. And then the last negative would be is that there's sort of no way to connect this wirelessly to a vacuum cleaner for dust extraction. So I'll be using it with the Hilti vacuum, but you need to have a Hilti vacuum and have one of these little Bluetooth things on the end of the hose, that when you want to use the saw, you have to press this button to Bluetooth to the vacuum cleaner and then use the saw. Some other brands have an automatic built-in system that you start at the tool and then the tool connects to the saw and automatically starts when you start cutting. So that would be, in my opinion, a bit of an oversight. Hilti do have Bluetooth connectability with their vacuums. It would have been really nice to see it incorporated into this, that you could pair this to the vacuum, start the tool, and the vacuum cleaner will automatically start, as opposed to having to get something like this to make it work. So just looking at the quality of cut, it does leave a really nice edge, pretty comparable to any other track saw that I've used. And dust extraction, pretty comparable. I won't do a side by side with another one on this video. Every track saw that I have used catches a fair amount of the dust, and you can sort of see on this table here, so that's the stuff that it wasn't catching it. With the vacuum working. So most track saws you will find a wee bit doesn't always get collected. So I was now just going to do a comparison with dropping this wee gate down to see if that actually makes any difference. So I'm not quite sure how clear that was actually coming out on the video, but there was actually a difference when you put this wee gate down. There was definitely a lot less dust versus using it with it up. So definitely it's catching more dust with that down, allowing for a lot more dust-free cutting. So this review wouldn't be complete without actually talking about the vacuum cleaner that I was actually using in conjunction with the track saw. So this is the Hilti VC 1022. So this is quite a nicely compact unit. Has the Bluetooth capability that I was talking about earlier. It also has automatic filter cleaning in eco mode, and you can adjust the speed of how fast it's going. It does have a reasonable storage. I think it's an 8 litre. You can also have it on a backpack system if you want. So I was using this in conjunction with this to make this video, and I've also used this vacuum a bit on its own. So I think it puts out about 17 kPa for suction, which is quite nice. The biggest thing I found with this is it uses a lot of battery. So I was using the 255 amp hour one, and basically I did some cutting with the track saw, and I used this to clean up a bit of a hallway around some rafters and on the floor, and basically in that time it chewed through an entire battery. That's the only downside I found with this, is it does really chew through batteries, and that is one of the bigger batteries as well. So that would be one thing to take into consideration if you are using this. You won't get a lot of runtime out of it, as opposed to the track saw. I was using a fair bit of cutting with that. and the battery is still nearly fully charged, and that's only one of the 170s. So that's just as a comparison what I've found. So they do corded vacuums, so if you're doing a lot of cutting, it might be an idea to look at a corded vacuum. They do have a smaller vacuum, but I don't know if that would keep up with the dust produced from the track saw. So you can either turn it on or off by itself, or you can turn it into Bluetooth mode, as you can see over here, and then you can turn it on with this button. So you could sort of hear from that when you put it into the eco mode, definitely drops down the RPM on the vacuum, and you can have auto filter cleaning, which you can hear that thumping, that it's like cleaning the filter, or you can manually do it if you need to, so you can turn the auto function off and just do it when you need to. And then you can, on this side here, increase or decrease the like the back shunt of air to do the filter cleaning, from my understanding. So this is a nice wee unit, but yeah, the biggest thing I found is it really chewed through batteries.